They say some houses remember the screams, some walls absorb the pain, and some places whisper, "Welcome to Hollow Creek," a house long abandoned, left to rot in the forgotten edges of rural America. To the locals, it's a place of silence, a house people walk faster when passing by. But once, it wasn't silence that haunted these walls. It was screaming. It began with a dare. 5 teens, Sarah, Mark, Jasmine, Ethan, and Luis, driven by boredom and YouTube clout, decided to investigate the infamous Hollow Creek house. It had stood untouched for over 30 years, ever since the mysterious disappearance of the Grayson family. A family of 5 who one stormy night were swallowed whole by the house, never to be seen again. Cameras on, flashlights ready, and hearts full of teenage arrogance, they stepped inside. And that's when the house exhaled. Everything about it felt wrong. The moment they crossed the threshold, the air got heavy. Not just thick with dust and mold, but pressure like something pressing on their chest. The door creaked closed behind them on its own. Ethan laughed nervously. Is that in the script? But no one responded, because they all heard it. A whisper, low, breathless, a voice that wasn't theirs. Jasmine froze. Did you guys hear that? Then the house creaked again, but it wasn't the floorboards. It was something deeper. It was breathing. Scene 3, the diary. In what once was the study, they found it. A leather-bound diary, brittle with age. The name barely visible. Eliza Grayson. Sarah flipped it open. At first, Eliza's words were normal, even cheerful. She talked about her father's cigar smoke, her mother's lullabies, her brothers fighting over breakfast. But as the pages turned, the tone shifted. Something in the walls. Scratching, whispering. Father says I'm imagining it, but I saw it. The shape in the mirror. It watches us at night. It wants Mother to stay. It wants all of us to stay. Then one final entry, smeared, almost unreadable. If someone finds this, it's not dead. It's waiting. It feeds on fear. Please, don't listen to the voices. Don't let it in your head. Don't read out loud. But it was already too late. Luis had been reading aloud the last line, and the lights went out. Total darkness. Only the red glow of the camera's recording light remained. Then a scream. Short, sharp, cut off. Jasmine was gone. The group scrambled, shouting her name, but only the whispers answered. Each room shifted. Doors that were open were now gone. Mirrors reflected wrong angles. Their own reflections looked wrong. Mark saw something move in the hall. The figure pale, too tall, eyes hollow. Not walking, floating. Scene 5, the ritual. Sarah, now clutching Eliza's diary, realized there was something in the back. A ritual. A last attempt Eliza wrote but never completed. A way to seal the darkness inside. But it came with a cost. One must face it. Alone. Sarah didn't hesitate. With the diary in one hand and a candle lit in the other, she stepped into the basement. The others tried to stop her, but the floorboards cracked and separated them. Below it waited. Not a monster, not a demon. It was sorrow, hunger, a voice that knew her name, that spoke as her mother, her father, her best friend. It knew her pain and used it. Sarah stood tall. Read the final incantation aloud. The ground shook, the shadows screamed, and then silence. As dawn broke, the front door creaked open on its own. Only Sarah stepped out, eyes hollow, clothes torn, holding the diary, alone. She never spoke of what happened inside. The others were never found. The footage was destroyed. But sometimes, late at night, if you walk near Hollow Creek House, you might still hear it. The whispering, the breathing, the hunger, still waiting for the next soul to listen. Some houses don't just carry history, they carry resentment. They don't forget the blood spilled on their floors or the lies whispered behind their walls. This is the story of Maplewood Manor, a place once filled with wealth, music, and laughter. now haunted by the echoes of a night that shattered it all. It was nearly midnight when the group arrived. Jake, Lena, Marcus, and Val, 4 urban explorers chasing thrills, clicks, and the next viral video. Maplewood Manor had been untouched for decades. Its grand gate rusted shut, ivy creeping like claws across its crumbling walls. But the doors were never truly locked. Not to those the house wanted inside. Jake pushed the door open. It groaned like something alive. Inside, dust, decay, and silence. And somewhere, faintly, a piano played a single note. Drawn by the sound, they followed the long corridor to the grand ballroom. High ceilings, chandeliers covered in cobwebs, a forgotten world frozen in time. In the corner sat a piano, yellowed ivory keys and a cracked bench. Jake grinned, sat down, and played a haunting little tune he remembered from childhood. As the melody echoed, the room changed. The air grew colder, the lights flickered, and then laughter, soft, distant, not theirs. They turned, and for a split second, the room wasn't decayed anymore. It was alive. Guests in gowns, a string quartet, champagne glasses, party. Then it all vanished. They tried to laugh it off, blaming nerves and shadows. But the manor had awoken. The doors no longer led to the same rooms. Their phones lost signal. Time didn't move. Lena whispered, "I swear I saw someone in the mirror." Marcus opened a closet and screamed. Inside was a dress, torn, stained with dried blood, hanging next to a tuxedo still covered in dust. Then a whisper, right behind him, "You shouldn't be here." But no one was there. In what was once the master bedroom, they found a drawer filled with letters, written in a shaky hand. Each one unraveled the truth of the Hawthorne family, once the richest in the region. The father, Elijah Hawthorne, had promised a fortune in gold to his guests, but never delivered. The guests turned on him during a party. The night ended in blood, betrayal, and screams. The letters ended with a single note. The dead cannot forgive. They can only wait. Jake went missing first. They heard the piano again, a twisted, warped version of the tune he played earlier. When they returned to the ballroom, the keys were moving on their own. Then they saw him, Jake, standing motionless among ghostly dancers, his face pale, eyes empty. Val screamed his name, but he didn't respond. He just turned and vanished into thin air. The others ran. Lena pieced it together. The spirits weren't just angry. They were trapped, reliving the moment of their betrayal over and over again. They needed acknowledgement, an apology. She begged Marcus and Val to help. Together, they returned to the ballroom. The spirits were there, frozen in a dance. As if waiting, Lena stepped forward. "I'm sorry for what happened here. You didn't deserve this." The chandelier shook. Wind howled. The ghosts turned toward her. One stepped forward, a woman in a blood-soaked gown, and whispered, "We only wanted justice. Now we can sleep." A blinding light filled the room. The manor shuddered, dust falling from the ceiling. And then silence. They found Jake outside, collapsed near the gate. Alive, but changed. He remembered nothing. They left Maplewood Manor just as the first light of dawn broke. The gate creaked shut behind them. Maplewood Manor still stands, still waits. Not all who enter hear the music. Not all who enter return. But those who do, carry the shadows with them, forever. Some houses are cursed by time. Others, by the rage of those who once lived within. Blackwood House wasn't just haunted. It was claimed. Started with a dare. For friends, Amanda, Chris, Nate, and Julia, college students chasing thrill and adrenaline, heard about the infamous Blackwood House, a decaying mansion on the outskirts of their small town. Its original owner, Agatha Blackwood, was rumored to be a witch, a recluse who vanished after cursing the land she called home. They didn't believe in ghosts. They just wanted a good story. So they packed some snacks, flashlights, and a camera and walked straight into a nightmare. The air shifted the moment they stepped over the threshold. The front door closed behind them with a deafening bang, despite no wind. The living room was frozen in time. Dusty furniture covered in white sheets, portraits of pale faces staring down from the walls. Nate laughed nervously. Creepy, but not cursed. Amanda, curious, wandered toward a wall of old books. One caught her attention, thick, leather-bound, with no title. When she opened it, a sudden whisper filled the room. No one spoke. They looked at each other. The book had started bleeding. That night, strange things began. Chris saw a girl in the mirror, long hair, pale face, standing right behind him. But when he turned, no one. Julia heard humming from the attic, even though the trapdoor was sealed shut, and Amanda began to change. She whispered in her sleep, muttering words in a language none of them understood. Her eyes darted, even when closed, and her hands, they started trembling violently whenever they passed Agatha's portrait. Chris wanted to leave. Nate said no, they had to get it on video. But the house wasn't done. In the study, Julia discovered Agatha's journal, written in beautiful, twisted handwriting. The pages told of betrayal. Agatha Blackwood had once been a healer, a kind woman misunderstood. When a plague hit the town, people turned to her for help. But when her remedies failed to save the mayor's son, they called her a witch. They stormed her house, burned her garden, and cursed her name. Her final entry read, "They took everything from me. My name, my life. Now I take from them. This house will remember. It will feed. It will never forgive." Amanda disappeared. They found her in the basement, standing barefoot in a chalk circle, candles flickering around her. She didn't blink. She didn't breathe, until she whispered, "She's awake." The lights went out. The house screamed. Walls bled. Mirrors shattered. Doors slammed shut one by one, sealing them in. Agatha's spirit had returned, and she was inside Amanda. Desperate, the others searched the journal for a way to end it. There was one final ritual, a cleansing, but it came with a warning. The house must take a soul to release a soul. A sacrifice. Nate refused. "We're not killing anyone." Chris said, "Then we all die." The candles flickered. Amanda, or what wore her face, began chanting. Time was up. Julia made the choice. She stepped into the circle, recited the words from the journal, and faced Amanda. "Let her go. Take me." A wind howled through the house. Amanda screamed, an unearthly sound. Her body convulsed, collapsed. The room went silent. The curse was broken, but Julia was gone. Not dead, just missing, as if the house had swallowed her whole. Amanda awoke with no memory. They found their way out, the front door open, the sun rising. Blackwood House stood quiet behind them. Once again, just a house, but never truly empty. They say curses fade. They don't. They wait. And somewhere, in the darkest corners of Blackwood House, a single voice still whispers, "She gave herself freely, and now she is part of me, forever." Some places are meant to be forgotten. Others refuse to be. Hidden deep in the shadowy woods of Willow Creek stood a lonely cabin, silent and forgotten. A decaying shell whispering stories to the trees. No one in town went near it, but some don't listen to warnings. For friends, Emily, Ryan, Chloe, and Brandon had one goal: disconnect from the noise of city life. They wanted nature, peace, adventure. What they got was a nightmare. They reached the cabin just before sunset. It was colder than expected. The air was heavy, still, and carried a scent of damp earth and ash. Ryan laughed. Creepy old place, perfect for ghost stories. They had no idea. The ghosts had already begun listening. Inside, the cabin was untouched. Dust blanketed every surface. Faded photos of a smiling family hung on the walls. Their eyes seemed to follow. As darkness settled outside, the inside grew colder. Then came the sounds. A knock at the back door, but no one there. A child's laugh from the attic. Yet the cabin had no stairs. And whispers, faint like wind, but speaking names. Chloe tried to joke. Emily didn't laugh. She'd found something, a trapdoor under the living room rug. Without telling the others, Emily opened it. Creaking, cold air rushed upward like a breath from the grave. She descended alone, flashlight in hand, into a cramped, rotting basement. The air reeked of mildew and something else, copper, blood. Old toys littered the floor. A broken rocking horse, a stuffed rabbit missing an eye, and on the wall, scrawled in childlike handwriting, "Help us. Don't let them take us again." Emily turned and saw footprints appearing in the dust walking toward her. She screamed. The others found her shaking, silent, and staring at the wall. She wouldn't speak. Not that night. Ryan stayed up researching on his phone, deep diving into Old Town records. In 1973, a family vanished from the very same cabin. Father, mother, and 3 children, gone without a trace. Locals said the mother was involved in dark things. Some whispered she tried to bind the souls of her children to keep them young forever. He shared it with the group. Chloe was skeptical. Brandon laughed. But Emily, she whispered, "She's still here, the mother, watching, waiting." And when asked how she knew, she said, "She spoke to me, from inside the walls." That night, Chloe vanished.
No sounds. No struggle.
Just gone. Her phone was found on the porch, the camera still recording. The last few seconds showed a figure floating behind her. A woman, pale, black dress, no eyes. The group panicked. Ryan wanted to leave. Brandon demanded they find Chloe first. But Emily said something chilling. She won't give her back. She wants all of us. And then the banging started. From inside the walls. Brandon went missing next. His scream shook the forest. Emily led Ryan to the trapdoor, claiming it was the only way. She wasn't herself anymore. Her voice was older. In the basement, Ryan found a mirror, not dusty, but clean. Reflected in it was not his own face, but the pale woman's. She smiled. "You came to my house. Now you'll stay." The walls bled. The air thickened. Emily turned to him, her eyes black. "She's inside me now, but we can still break the curse." The journal, the one the mother left behind, held the key. Ryan read it aloud while Emily stood in the circle drawn in chalk. He spoke ancient words, trembling. Shadows circled them like wolves. Then a scream, the sound of a child, then 3, then dozens. Figures appeared, children, pale and lost, surrounding the woman, now materialized, clawing at the circle. But Ryan didn't stop. As the final line was spoken, the woman screamed and burst into ash, consumed by light. The children vanished with her. Emily collapsed. Ryan carried her out as dawn painted the sky. The cabin began to collapse behind them. No sign of Brandon or Chloe. Only the forest remained, silent and still. Later, Emily would say she remembered nothing. But Ryan knew. Some pieces of that place never leave. And on cold nights, he still hears children laughing in the wind. Some houses die with time, but the ones that feed always come back. There's a house at the end of a road. A long, winding path surrounded by dead trees and silence. That house is waiting. Ravenwood. A name spoken in hushed tones. A house cloaked in sorrow and secrets. And tonight, someone dares to enter. Scene 1, The Arrival. Clara Maddox, an ambitious journalist with a taste for the supernatural, had heard whispers of Ravenwood House for years, stories of a family destroyed by greed and betrayal, a mystery buried under layers of dust and denial. Now she was here, alone, with a notepad, a camera, and a growing sense of unease. The gate creaked open like a dying breath. The house loomed above her like a watching predator. And yet Clara smiled. "Let's see what you're hiding." The front door wasn't locked. Inside, time had stood still. Furniture covered in white sheets. Chandeliers draped in cobwebs. Walls soaked in the stale perfume of decay. She walked slowly, her camera clicking. In the hallway, she found an old portrait, a family of 4. The father wore a cold stare. The mother, a forced smile. The children, unseen. The faces were scratched out. A cold draft blew past. Then a giggle, faint, childlike. She spun around. No one. In the upstairs study, Clara discovered a hidden panel behind a bookshelf. Inside, dusty letters tied in red ribbon, a gold locket, and a journal. The entries were from Isabel Ravenwood, the matriarch. They began with elegance, then spiraled into madness. He hides it. He thinks I don't know. But the children see. They always see. The treasure is cursed. He made a deal. Now we're all prisoners. Forgive me. I tried to stop it. Clara paused. Treasure? A deal? The temperature dropped. Then footsteps. Behind her. Clara turned quickly, heart pounding. No one. But the mirror beside the door now held a different reflection. A woman in a black dress, her mouth sewn shut, standing behind Clara. She turned around, empty. The mirror cracked. Clara stumbled back and fled to the attic, chasing the truth. The attic was a nursery once. Toys scattered on the floor. A broken music box played a discordant lullaby. There she found a child's drawing. For stick figures, one covered in red scribbles. Underneath, Daddy heard us. Then whispers. From the closet. Clara opened it slowly, flashlight trembling. Inside, nothing. But as she turned to leave, the door slammed shut behind her. She was locked in darkness, and the scratching began. After hours or minutes, Clara pried the door open and ran to the library. She needed to understand. Among the dusty shelves, she found a box sealed with wax, marked with the Ravenwood crest. Inside, a contract, an ancient deal signed in blood. An exchange, eternal wealth, in return for the family's souls. And next to it, a map, the treasure, hidden beneath the house. She had to see it. She found the entrance behind the cellar door. Old stone stairs spiraled downward, swallowed by shadows. The deeper she went, the heavier the air became, thick with rot, sorrow, and something old. At the bottom, a crypt. In its center, a black chest, chained shut. Clara opened it. Inside, coins, jewels, bones, and a withered human heart, still beating. And standing behind her, the Ravenwood family, eyes hollow, mouths bleeding, hands reaching. It's yours now, the mother whispered. Clara screamed and ran, chased by the echoing wails of the damned. She emerged from the house just before dawn, panting, shaking, alive, but not free. Back in her apartment, days later, she tried to write her story, but her hands wouldn't stop trembling. Then one night, she heard it again, a giggle from her closet, and the mirror, the woman in black was waiting there. Some secrets should stay buried. Ravenwood's treasure was never gold. It was a curse, passed on to the next name on the deed. And Clara, she never left the house. Not really. Ready for Story 6. The Lurking Shadows of Pine Hill?